Okay, hello again. This video is called A Common Tarot Reading Problem Solved. Okay, so the last one I did was called the two and a half most important things you need to know if you're going to do a reading for yourself or other people. And this was going to be followed by the other two things, the other two most important things you need if you're going to read for yourself or other people. However, somebody made a blog comment about part of the first video, and so I'm changing the order, and I want to deal with the problem. And the blog writer's problem was this, that she said she didn't like doing readings for herself because she would look at a card or look at the spread and feel that she was seeing and reading what she wanted to see rather than, or what she wanted to know, rather than what she needed. And this seemed like a bad thing. So I think we can all understand that you might want to do a reading for yourself because, let's say, you're looking for good news, right? But you turn, let's say, are things going to improve? And you turn a card and you get, for instance, the Five of Swords reversed, okay? So this, we all know, I imagine, we all know this particular card, and it's not the best or most successful card, or doesn't show the best or most successful circumstances. So you want good news, and you turn the Five of Swords and it's reversed, and you figure you're not going to get any good news, or you're not going to get indications of improvement, so you put the cards away and you give up because you don't like what you're seeing there. Although at the same time, with somebody else, you might have made some suggestions on what they could do to improve the situation or to solve the problem. With ourselves, though, if what we see is not what we want, it's really easy to abandon the reading and decide that they're right, and that you shouldn't or you can't do readings for yourself. And even if you try and look on the bright side with, let's say, the Five of Swords reversed, you know you're really twisting things to make it fit. So I'm disagreeing with the position, and I'm saying that we can do readings for ourselves, and I'd like to explain a little bit about why I think this and show you how to overcome this kind of problem. So if I can remind you of what I said in the previous video, the half was, with a tarot reading, it's the wise part of you that's answering the question for the part of you that wants an answer. I think that's what's going on with a tarot reading. It's not the devil speaking, it's not God speaking, it's not some disembodied spirit of your dead uncle, it's not some kind of guardian angel that's answering your question. Lots of people believe that it is, but I don't think it makes particular sense for reasons that I won't go into right now. So that was the half part, that's us talking to us with a reading. Point one was to remember the question, because that's what the tarot is answering. Right? If you had been meant to ask a different question, you would have thought of it, that other question, instead of the one that you did ask. So the second point that I made in the other video was to ask, instead of asking what does a card mean, ask yourself, what sense does it make to answer the particular question that's been asked? And if you do that, you won't get stuck. So if we go back to the blog comment, the person's problem or anxiety was that she was afraid that she would see what she wanted and not what she needed, and she thought this wasn't a good thing. I sort of wonder though about this, because maybe it's not just okay, but also the way we ought to go for what we want and see what we want rather than seeing what we need. An example, let's say your neighbour has a Honda or a Toyota, and you want a Mercedes-Benz because it's a better car, you want a little bit of luxury, and in some ways it's going to mean that you're better off, or better, why not, than your neighbour. So it doesn't have to be a car. It can be some other status symbol or some other thing that you want because you want it, or maybe you want it because your neighbour or your rival doesn't have it. So it's going to do something for your ego. Make you feel better, make you feel stronger, more capable, whatever it happens to be. So let's say you tell a friend, this is what you're going to do. You're going to buy this Mercedes. And the friend says, that's not very nice. Or that's kind of mean-spirited. Are you sure you really want to do that? Or maybe they tell you that's really not the way you ought to live, buying stuff just so you can be better than other people. So you think about it and you decide that, okay, your friend was right. So you give up on the idea of buying the Mercedes. The problem is, if you do that, you don't know for sure if what the friend said is true or right. You may believe it, but you don't actually know if it's true or if it's right. And maybe what happens is that in the back, you've got the thought of the Mercedes in the back of your mind, and it won't go away, and you wish you'd bought it. And the regret that you didn't kind of spoils your life in some way, or messes up your thinking. Because it's kind of like an itch, but you can't scratch it. You can't stop it. So this is the kind of thing that happens with people, I think. They don't do things that they want, even though they want to, because somebody tells them they ought not to do it, or they shouldn't do it, or somebody else tells them not to do it. On the other hand, I'm thinking, let's say you do what you want and you buy that Mercedes, or whatever it is that you don't actually need but that you want. So let's say you buy a Mercedes. Maybe you find that the new car isn't worth it, or you discover that having a car that's better than the neighbours isn't really as satisfying as you thought it would be. Or maybe you wish you'd never done it in the first place, but you're stuck with it and you've got to make the payments, for instance. So the important thing, I think, is that now you know, because you did it, you know for yourself and from your own experience what's involved, what it's like. You're not accepting what somebody else said and assuming that they're right, because that's kind of like living somebody else's life, or living your life according to somebody else's rules. And you can go so far with it, but somehow you're going to get stuck, and you're going to regret, and you're going to wish you'd done things differently, and you're going to be hard on yourself, and it's going to eat away at you. And that's how one way that people get sick. So if you do go ahead with it, the understanding that you have, and that could be maybe that things aren't as important as you thought they were, it can change you for the better in other ways as well. So let's say you're changed, you understand something about yourself, about life, about people, about what works, what doesn't work, what to do, what not to do, what suits your nature, truly. So let's say all that good stuff comes from the decision. In that case, was buying the car and going for what you wanted really a mistake? I don't think it was, if you learn valuable lessons from it. Because if you don't do it, what do you learn from it? Nothing really. Or maybe you buy the car and you enjoy being better than your neighbour. Is that really such a bad thing? It could be an awful lot worse. So I want to say that if getting what you want can be a good thing, in the same way, so can seeing what you want in a reading be a good reading and be a good thing as well. So that's kind of the first part of my argument. Okay, so the second part is that we should consider how we consult the tarot. So I imagine that when we're going to do a reading, we don't get totally drunk and then turn on music so loud that we can't hear ourselves think. This is probably not your approach. It's not mine. It's really not the method that anybody uses, especially if we're trying to get accurate results and good results. So you probably keep your cards in a special box, or maybe you wrap them in a special cloth, and you keep them safe and out of harm's way. You don't keep them, I'm sure, by the kitchen sink, where anybody and everybody can get their hands on them. So even just by the way you treat the cards, there's already a different atmosphere at work when you think about doing a reading or when you go to do a reading. And if you're doing a reading, you probably are going to make sure that you're not going to be disturbed as much as this is possible. Unplug the phone, make sure that nobody's around, or tell them, don't disturb me for the next half hour. So you probably try to find a quiet and peaceful setting where you can do the reading in a relaxed and serious manner, I think. And this is what's going on. You, the questioner, let's say you're doing a reading for yourself, you're sincerely asking for guidance or help, or you want direction. So you can have improvement in your life, so you can make a correct and sensible decision that's going to take you in a good direction. And we can also remember the earlier point that you're really asking the wise part of you to help the part of you that needs an answer to your question or a solution to the problem. So I think this is the atmosphere, or it's the condition in which we do readings. So it occurs to me, even if you're seeing what you want, why not trust the answer that's coming from the wise part of you, or trust the thoughts that come to you in that respectful, serious, sincere state of mind that you're in because you're doing you're doing a reading. So the question is, what if we trust ourselves and work with the thoughts that come instead of dismissing them because apparently we're not good enough to have what we want, or because what we want is inappropriate or unworthy in some way according to somebody else who may very well be wrong. Because maybe what we want is actually what we need. So the kind of thing that can happen is let's say you're in a predicament and you want to know how to get out of a difficulty, and you pick a card and you get the Eight of Swords reversed. Okay, so you look at that card and you're in a difficult situation to begin with because you're already in maybe a depressed or anxious or unhappy state of mind. It's easy, or we tend to look on the dark side and we think, okay, it's a reversed Eight of Swords, person's stuck, reversed, makes it worse. I'm stuck. There's nothing I can do. I'm going to have to continue to suffer, and I'm going to be confined and restricted and held in. So, again, if you find something good to say or think, you're just trying to be positive, and it isn't really the answer because you sort of think to yourself, I'm just twisting the bad situation into something more enjoyable, but I know I'm really just fooling myself. But if we remember the question and the idea about seeing the sense of the card rather than trying to figure out a meaning, then the wise part of you, it's not saying you're doomed, right? But it's saying, stay put, stay where you are. So let's say you're in a situation and you want change, or you want to move into a new situation, or you think you ought to move. But this reversed Eight of Swords, it's not saying you can't. The wise part of you is saying, don't move. Stay where you are and see it through. Maybe because if you move, you're just going to take the problem with you. So what you think will provide a solution won't. So an example is, you could be living in a place with people that you don't really much like, and you've got noisy neighbours, and so you want to move, thinking that if I move to a new place, then the problem will disappear, I'll have solved the problem. But let's say you get this particular card, the Eight of Swords reversed. Then it's saying, if you do move, you won't get away from the noise. You'll move to another place and you'll just have noisy neighbours through the wall like you have at the moment. So what it's supposed to do with this Eight of Swords reversed is learn to overcome the problem, or learn to not be affected by it. And once you've learned what to do and how to, and once you've in a way solved the problem, you can safely move. Or it could be the same question, okay, and you get the Two of Cups reversed. And in the same way, if you think about the sense of the card, it doesn't mean you're not going to be able to solve the problem. So it's the Two of Cups, okay, this card. And look at the man and the woman, and it's partly a card about sharing, but it's upside down, I'm saying. So what the answer is don't share your problem with other people. It's not saying you can't solve it. It's saying don't talk about it with other people. Keep it to yourself. Because it can be indicating you shouldn't look to other people for a solution. If you look within your own mind and look within yourself and look at your own ideas, you'll find what you need actually to solve the problem. So maybe you've been discussing the problem too much with other people. So it's becoming more and more real, because other people and you take the situation much more seriously, even if that's not the way to go. Or maybe, as we look at that card, the Two of Cups, maybe you're asking the wrong people. So you're asking people who can't solve the problem, who can't help, who are going to tell you what they should be doing for themselves. So instead of looking to other people with this Two of Cups upside down, look within yourself. Look to the wise part of you to guide you, since it knows best and it doesn't have any agenda that's going to cause you pain. So let's say you don't quite trust yourself to do your own readings. And this might also affect how confident you are when it comes to doing readings for other people. I called this video a problem solved, so I should get to what is the solution. And I want to say that the solution is you need philosophy, or you need a philosophy. So you might think, oh no, I'm going to have to read Aristotle or Plato or some other old guy, some old dead Greek person. And you can if you want, and it might be a good idea, but I've got something else in mind when I say that we need, or a tarot reader needs, a philosophy. So, the first part of the word philosophy, the philo part, means loving. And the second part, the Sophie, or Sophia, means wisdom. So having a philosophy is about loving wisdom, or being familiar with wise words, or knowing some of the wise things that various people have given us for guidance through life and its troubles. So mottos might help. Be familiar with mottos. There's one about it's better to travel hopefully than to arrive. I quite kind of like that one. So it's a bit like, enjoy what you're doing, enjoy the trip, rather than ignore what's going on because you just want to finish it. So enjoy what you're doing, or find something you enjoy and spend time doing it. And that can be good advice, and it can make a difference of the questioner to be told this. Or we can read Shakespeare and poetry and see what we notice. Or we can listen to Bob Dylan. In one of his songs, I like all Bob Dylan, as you probably know, but in one of his songs he sings, the song is It's All Right, I'm Only Bleeding, and he sings, though the rules of the road have been lodged, it's people's games you've got to dodge. So you learn the rules of the road and you drive, but the real problem comes from the games that people play with you and with themselves, and they don't know it. Or maybe you listen to the Beatles, and at the end of Abbey Road you get, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make, which is kind of good. So you get back what you give out. So if you want to get more back, give out more. You also might like to read a bit about what some authors have said about understanding what's really going on with life. And if you go to www.thetarot.ca, partway down the screen, and I looked this up earlier today, there's an entry for the 29th of May 2010. The entries are kind of dated. So you'll find a link to a page called Amazon, I think it is. And there you can read about some books by a fellow called Eric Butterworth, who's good, and Vernon Howard. And both of these two authors write about how to recognize what's really going on with people, because what's really going on is usually going on below the surface. That's the games that people play. So, I'm almost finished here. Let's say you add 6 and 6, then you're always going to get 12, right? Because 6 and 6 is 12. If you want a different outcome, if you want a different total, if you want 13, there's no point in adding 6 and 6, because you're always going to get 12. So, if you don't want 12 and you want 13, you need to go to the cause, 6 plus 6, and change the cause. So you can add 6 and 7 and you'll get 13, or you can add 8 and 5 if you want to get away from the 6s. So, it's the point. There's the outcome and there's the cause. You want to change the outcome, change the cause. So maybe your partner gets annoyed because you don't put the cap back on the toothpaste. You leave it off all the time. So if you don't want to deal with the annoyance and the anger and the hostility of your partner, you can try changing the partner. But changing people is always very difficult, and the change usually doesn't stick. Or you could deal with the cause and start putting the cap back on the toothpaste and see what happens. So if the partner finds something else to be angry about, you know that wasn't really about the toothpaste. But you're in a stronger position to deal with this new problem and understand it and ideally solve it. But If you put the cap back in the toothpaste, maybe the partner's going to be so pleased that you noticed and change your action that he or she is going to become very cooperative and is much better to be around and is happier and more helpful. So your relationship improves and the rest of your life can improve as well. So if you don't like the effect, change the cause. I've kind of finished. So I hope you found this useful and helpful. The next one is going to be about the other two most important things you need to know if you're going to do readings for yourself or for other people. And I'm hoping in a week or two, so sometime 20th of June, maybe the 25th, 2011. Thank you very much.